In this video, I'm going to talk about blending options and the effects we can find in InDesign. The first and most easiest to understand is how to apply a stroke around an image. All you need to do is select the frame and then click here on the stroke icon and then choose a color for the stroke. So for example, I'm going to set it to blue or cyan, and then I'm going to increase the value of the width for the stroke. So that's very simple how to do this, and we can always change the color or the size, or we can also change the style of the stroke. We can set it to dotted line, or we can set it to slant, hash, and so on and so forth. There are many ways to change it. I'm just going to set it back to solid for now. Then if we have an image, we can change the blending mode of this image. Let me just put it on top of another image, and then I go to the effects icon and choose transparency, and then change the blending mode here. From normal, we can set it to multiply, and then you can see it's similar to changing the opacity or transparency, but in this case there's a blending in between the two images. We can see screen will give us a different effect, overlay, soft light, hard light, and so on and so forth. There are many options here. I don't want to go through all of them, but you can see that with these blending modes, again, we can create an interesting effect between separate images on top of each other. So I am going to just keep one there. I'm going to set it to soft light and move it here on top of the other one, so just we can see the change. And I'm going to alt click and drag this image back where it was, and I'm going to apply a different effect on it. I am going to add a drop shadow, and for the drop shadow we have a separate icon as well here on the control bar. I can just click on this and it will create the drop shadow effect. If we want to make changes to this effect, we can go to the effects drop shadow option, and here we can find many options for this. We can change the size, the angle, the distance, and so on and so forth. We can use global light, which is a very useful option, because that means if I use global light on another image as well, let's just say this one here, I add the drop shadow and I make sure global light is selected. That means whenever I go to the global light option under the effects menu, here I can see that now I can move the shadow on these two images together. So I can change their angle or the altitude. So basically they share the same light source. The same applies to the other effects like inner shadow. Let me add inner shadow to another selected image. So that's how it looks with the inner shadow. And once again, we can use global light for that as well. Or if we turn it off, we can change the angle there separately to the other drop shadows. Apart from adding shadows, we also can add glows. And there's outer glow and inner glow. Let me show you the outer glow. And it won't be really visible on white background with the original white color, but we can change that color to like blue, and then if we increase the size you will start to see that glow around the image. And then there is one more effect which is quite different to the others, and that is bevel and emboss. If we choose this one, this will create again an edge effect on the image, which we once again can change here in the options. We can change the angle, we can change the style, soften it, changing the depth, altitude, and highlight, shadow colors, and opacity. So there are many options for this effect as well. Don't expect any fancy effects in InDesign. For image editing, Photoshop is the best application. In InDesign, we can just add these subtle effects and blending options. But if you want to create more complicated or complex montages or image effects, and you should do those in Photoshop and then place the Photoshop file or the final design into InDesign. In the next video, I'm going to show you exactly how to place a Photoshop document into your InDesign document.